The veil of golden stardust still danced silently in the void where a star had once existed. Goku remained motionless, his hand still slightly outstretched, his silver eyes gazing at the absolute and peaceful annihilation he had caused. There was no euphoria, no triumph, only a solemn and overwhelming understanding. He had touched the heart of the cycle of life and death in a way that no battle had ever allowed him. Belmod, with a final tone of respect. The training is complete. You have understood the last lesson. Being the Alpha is not only about creating order from chaos, but also about accepting the necessity of the end. You have become a true ruler of the universe, Son Goku. Before Goku could fully process the words, a voice echoed in his mind, urgent and distorted by distance and excruciating pain. Vegeta, telepathically. Kakarot! Wherever you are, listen! We found them! Their lair in the demon world! But it's a trap! Kognaki's power, it's different, monstrous. It's like nothing I've ever felt. It's not the same old garbage. You need to come now. The voice was abruptly interrupted by a loud, impactful noise, followed by a mental silence more terrifying than any scream. Goku, his eyes wide with panic. Vegeta! Vegeta! Belmod noticed the instant change in his disciple. What happened? Goku, desperate. It was Vegeta. He and Whis found the Kognaki god. He said his power was monstrous, different. And then he screamed and the connection dropped. I need to go there, now. He tried to re-establish contact telepathically, but found only a cold, silent void. Panic began to set in. Had Vegeta, in his myth of destruction form, been defeated? What had Kognaki become? Goku, turning to Belmod. How do I get to the demon world? Normal teleportation doesn't work between dimensions like this. Belmod observed Goku, his expression serious, but not surprised. Belmod, with intentional calm. The path to the demon world is a conceptual journey. It's about accessing the rifts of reality, the places where creation overflows into the shadows, and you now possess the keys. Goku, confused and impatient. Keys? What do you mean? Vegeta might need my help. Belmod, think, what have you just done? You didn't just destroy a star. You understood its cycle. You touched the end, the void that precedes a new beginning. The Makai world is the reverse of creation, the realm where ends accumulate and new beginnings are stifled. The Alpha domain you achieved isn't just about power. It's about understanding. Understanding of life, of death, and the realms in between. Belmod's words echoed in Goku's mind like an awakening. He closed his eyes not to find Vegeta's key, which was too distant and obscured by dimensional barriers, but to seek his trail. The trail of his energy, the echo of their fight, the path he had traveled through the fabric of reality, and then he felt it. It wasn't a point of light, a dark, cold thread, a smell of burnt ozone and old metal permeating the air. It was the remnant of the portal Whis must have opened, the very smell of the Makai world. Goku, whispering to himself, I can feel it. It's like a rotten thread in the fabric of everything. His body began to glow with an intense silvery light, but this time intertwined with shades of cosmic blue. He wasn't just merging with the universe. He was reading its entrails, its flaws. Belmod, with a restrained smile. That's it! You don't need a technique, you need permission. And the universe, recognizing your dominion, is granting it. Now go! Universe 7 needs its 2 champions. Goku didn't need to hear it twice. With one last look of gratitude to Belmod, he focused on the dark thread, on the sensation of Vegeta's key that had vanished at the end of that path. He didn't move through space. Instead, the space around him warped. It was instant teleportation, but elevated to a godlike level. He wasn't teleporting to a location, he was teleporting to a concept, to the place where Vegeta had fallen. A vortex of silver and blue light opened before him, revealing not the stars of Universe 11, but a red sky and heavy toxic air. Goku stepped forward and disappeared through the portal. He emerged in hell. The air of the Makai world was thick and hot, burning his lungs with a smell of sulfur and decay. The ground was black, pulsating rock, and the sky was a swirl of red and purple. The first thing he saw was Whis, standing with an expression of deep concern, his scepter glowing with a defensive light. And a few meters away, a scene that chilled Goku's heart. Vegeta lay fallen. His transformation into a myth of destruction had completely vanished, and he lay unconscious, his aura extinguished. and standing over him with one foot planted on his back was Kognaki. But this wasn't the Kognaki Goku remembered. His aura was no longer a vibrant purple. It was a thick black mist, cracked by lightning of a sickly green. His eyes no longer held only malice. They gleamed with an insane hunger. Beerus's cloak now seemed alive, moving like liquid shadows on his shoulders. The power emanating from him was oppressive, a corruption so profound it made Goku's alpha instinct tremble. Kognaki slowly raised his head, a wide, unnatural grin stretching across his face. God Kognaki, in a voice that was the growl of a million demons. "Hello, insect! We were expecting you! Thank you for bringing the other half of the package." He pressed his foot into Vegeta's back, and a muffled, painful thud echoed. Goku yelled, a wave of pure rage and worry washing over him. Goku yelling, "Get your foot off him, Kognaki!" His silver and blue aura exploded, illuminating the dark landscape. Alpha instinct took full control, but now it was tinged with the fury of a protector. The battle for Universe 7, and for the life of his friend and rival, had reached its most critical moment, and Goku knew that, for the first time, he was facing a power that might be able to extinguish him as completely as he had extinguished the star. Guys, before we continue, are you already a member of the channel? I want to keep bringing you more and more amazing videos, but for that, I need your help. Now you can become a channel member. You'll get access to exclusive videos just for members. Your name will appear in the videos as a way of saying thanks. And most importantly, every contribution helps me create even more epic Dragon Ball content. In other words, you won't just be watching, you'll be part of this adventure with me. Every new video that comes out will carry a piece of your support. So if you're a true Dragon Ball fan and want to help the channel grow, click the join button below and be part of this legendary team. Alright, now let's get back to the story. The world seemed to slow down until it stopped. The sight of Vegeta's unconscious body under Kognaki's foot, the dark and sickly aura of the corrupted god, and the sound of Goku's own heart pounding in panic in his chest. It all merged into a single, terrible moment. Kognaki smiled, a gesture devoid of any humanity, and raised his hand. A sphere of energy began to form above his palm. It wasn't purple nor green, but a sphere of pure emptiness, of absolute non-existence. It was the essence of Hakai, but distilled into its purest and most malevolent form. God Kognaki in a booming, deadly voice. "Watch closely, insect. This is how I extinguished Beerus. He couldn't even scream, only eternal silence." The sphere of Hakai descended slowly towards Vegeta. It wasn't fast enough to be painless. It was slow enough to be torture. For Goku to witness every millimeter of the erasure of his friend, his rival, the other pillar that sustained his world. Goku, a scream that tore the very fabric of reality. No! Something inside him shattered. A barrier he didn't even know existed. His alpha instinct, until then a fusion of cosmic serenity and controlled fury, exploded. His silvery blue aura turned white, so intense that it eclipsed the red sky of Makai. It was no longer an aura, it was a furnace. The mastery over the flow of life transformed into a blind desire to annihilate the source of that pain. The ground beneath his feet began to crumble, not into pieces, but into cosmic dust. The air around him dissipated, creating a vacuum that began to suck in the very darkness of the Makai world. Whiz, shouting above the roar of energy, "Goku, stop! You will destroy this entire dimension! The collapse will be catastrophic!" Mary, who had been watching from afar with a triumphant smile, saw him transform into pure terror. Mary in a panic. "He's a lunatic. He'll destroy everything. Not even this world will survive." But Goku didn't listen. His world had shrunk to Kognaki and the Hakai sphere that was centimeters away from touching Vegeta. With a roar that was no longer human, he launched himself. His body, now a comet of white fury, collided with Kognaki at the exact moment the Hakai touched Vegeta. The impact was beyond the physical. It was an explosion of concepts. The will to annihilate of Kognaki against the primal fury of Goku. The sphere of Hakai dissipated with a muffled crack. But the energy that fueled it, Mary's power, retaliated. The ensuing fight was indescribable. They didn't exchange punches and kicks, they exchanged laws of reality. Kognaki, fused with Mary's life force, created armies of pure darkness. Alpha instinct, even at its limit, whispered the truth. Destruction fueled by rage was empty. True authority came from understanding the cycle. In a fluid movement, Goku separated himself from the combat, hovering over the ruined landscape. Kognaki, panting and with his dark aura diminishing, laughed. God Kognaki, "Running away, insect? Wasn't your fury enough?" Goku didn't answer. He closed his eyes, and then he did something no one expected. He began to pray, not to a deity, but to the universe itself, to the Makai world, to the echoes of all lives that have passed, to all the stars that have died to give way to new ones. He extended his hands, and instead of demanding energy, he invited it. Goku, in a voice that echoed all beginnings and ends, Genki Dama! But this was no ordinary sphere of life energy. It wasn't a blue sphere of hope. It was a sphere of pure, pulsating white light. Within it, one could see the glow of nebulae, the last breath of stars, the blossoming of new life, and the silent peace of the end. It was the power of the cycle of life, the final lesson of the god of destruction Belmod. A river of white light began to flow from the very vacuum he had created, from the particles of corrupted energy he had purified, from the very concept of justice that pulsed in the heart of creation. The sphere grew, not violently, but with a solemn inevitability. Kognaki screamed, sensing the nature of that energy. It was the antithesis of everything he was. He unleashed everything he had, Hakkai's, blasts of dark energy, against Goku's Genkidama, but it was like spitting into the ocean. The energy simply absorbed the darkness, purifying it, making it part of the cycle. Mary on her knees felt her own power, her own life essence that she had given to Kognaki, being pulled into the sphere. She screamed, a sound of pure terror, "No, this is my own power, my life!" Goku opened his eyes, which now shone with the light of life. Goku with final authority. Everything has a cycle, Mary. Yours and his have come to an end. He pushed the sphere of the cycle of life. It moved slowly, unhurriedly, because it knew there was no escape. Kognaki tried to flee, but the very space around him held him in place, a final courtesy of alpha instinct. The white sphere touched him. There was no explosion. There were no screams. He simply began to disintegrate. Its form, its aura, its corrupted consciousness, everything dissolved into white light, particle by particle, until nothing remained. And then a scream echoed. Mary. She wasn't touched by the sphere, but her body began to disintegrate in the same way, like dust blown by the wind. Mary with a final whisper of understanding, "Marba, you warned." From the shadows, the great witch Marba watched, her red eyes impassive. Marba in a hoarse voice, "I said, you gave him your life as a source of power. When the flame goes out, the fuel is also consumed. A logical consequence." And then Mary was gone too. The silence that fell over the Makai world was absolute. Goku landed exhausted, his white aura dissipating and returning to his base form. He ran to the crater where Vegeta was. To his indescribable relief, the Saiyan Prince was breathing, panting and weak, but alive. The Hakkai hadn't hit him in time. Whis appeared beside him, placing a calming hand on his shoulder and said, "You did what was necessary, Lord Goku. You didn't just end a life. You restored balance. You initiated a new cycle of peace." Goku looked at his hands, the same hands that had extinguished a star and a god. The pain and weight were immense, but so was the understanding. He didn't even need to ask. Whis touched his staff to the ground, and in an instant, they were back on the sacred planet of Universe 7. The air was clear, the sky serene. Goku looked at Whis, a question in his eyes. Goku in a tired voice, "Whis, the training with Belmod. He showed me that destruction can be part of life, not just an end." Whis smiled, a genuine and deep smile that Goku hadn't seen in a long time. However, this moment was interrupted by an unmistakable voice, full of boredom and arrogance, that came from behind him. Familiar voice. "Did you miss me?" Goku and Whis turned around at the same time. There was Beerus. He looked exactly the same, examining his claws with disinterest. Goku froze, his eyes wide, unable to process what he saw. Beerus glancing at Goku with an amused look. "What is it? You look like you've seen a ghost, and from what Whis told me, you two made quite a mess while I was unavailable." Whis chuckled softly, wiping away a tear. Whis, "Welcome back, Lord Beerus. Your unavailability was quite missed." Goku finally found his voice, which came out as a creak. Beerus, but how? He erased you. There's nothing left." Beerus raised an eyebrow as if Goku were stating the obvious. Beerus, erase? That usurper with borrowed power. He may have erased my existence in that moment. But so what? I am the god of destruction. Destruction itself is an eternal concept. As long as there is something to be destroyed, I will always return. It just took me a little longer to recover this time because the blow was, well, unprecedented. He yawned again, stretching. Beerus, enough small talk. I'm hungry. Whis, bring me the pudding. And you, Goku, stop standing there with that silly face. Your new transformation looks interesting. After I eat, you can show me what it's capable of. And so, under the tranquil light of his sacred planet, with his friend and master back and his rival safe, Goku realized that the cycle had in fact closed. Destruction had given way to a new beginning. Guys, and that concludes an epic story. You liked it, right? So it's important that you leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything. Want a new saga? Comment below. Bye!